Welcome to the Science Hive. I'm Bea, and today we'll be looking at science in the news. There's a type of headline you probably see all the time. So it says, blank makes you blank. The first one's probably a food, like cranberries, kale, chocolate, and then it makes you do something like get healthy, get cancer, not get cancer, gain weight, lose weight. The titles get really sensational, and when you read the article, the information's not always clear. So let's take a look at kind of one of the models of these, and then see how we can get actual information out of them. For example, this article appears in Yahoo's Healthy Living section. The title says, "Does eating chocolate make you smarter? New study says yes!" Despite the sensational title, the article actually does a pretty good job at breaking down the study. It follows a good set of rules that we can lay down for reading science in the news. The first thing you want to do is find a source. The article that you're reading should tell you the name of someone who did the study, which is usually the author of the paper. Then you also want to find out where they published it. So there's some sort of scientific journal where they publish their original data. This article tells us that the study came from the Journal of Neurology, and the first author on the paper was Fazarne Sarand. Now, we can double check this information by going and looking that up in something like Google Scholar or PubMed, which is run by the National Library of Medicine. And we can check to make sure that the study is real. Sure enough, this study exists, and it has a much less catchy title. It's called Neurovascular Coupling, Cerebral White Matter Integrity, and Response to Cocoa in Older People. If you go searching for this study and you can't verify an original source, run away. It means this probably isn't actually a scientific study. The next thing you'll want to see is the details of the study. So follow the basic questions of who, what, when, where, how, and why. It may seem a silly question, but is this study actually done on humans? Sometimes studies are done on mice, or flies, or some other animal. So we want to make sure that the study applies to humans, or if not, you understand that things that happen in other organisms aren't always exactly the same for a person. Now that we've established we're looking at humans, let's see how many of them there are. Let's imagine we wanted to know about the whole human race, and we went out and looked at 2 people and decided that's what everyone was like. You probably know that that's not a very accurate way to do things. And the same thing applies to scientific studies. The more people you have, the better your information is going to be. This particular study uses 60 people, which is on the low side of good, but we'll consider it a pretty decent number. Finally, we want to know, who are these people? Are they young or old? Did they smoke a lot or drink a lot during their life? Are they generally healthy? What race are they? What country do they live in? You want to know, is this a good cross-section of people? Or is this a section that maybe has some really specific traits? This particular study was done on individuals who were an average age of 73, and we don't know too much about their life before that point. So they may be a good representation of the elderly population, but what works for them may not work for other people. Now we want to ask, what? What did the study look at? What were they trying to figure out? What questions did they ask? The chocolate study looks at how adding cocoa to the diet can change the way blood flows in your brain. Now we have a group of people and a question that's been asked. How do we go about answering it? This study gave a cup of hot chocolate to its participants twice a day for 30 days, and then they used various methods to look at how that affected the subjects' brains. Now that we've figured out all the details from the article, we can finally ask, what did they find out? It turns out this study didn't find out anything about intelligence or how smart people were, so the original headline is way off the mark. What it did find out was that adding cocoa to the diet increased the amount of blood that flowed to the brain, it helped the cells in the brain be healthier and communicate a little bit better. Although the sensational headline turned out to be false, the information in the article is still pretty interesting, and I think it's a good excuse for everyone to have a big cup of hot chocolate. A final and really important part of reading science articles is to think a little bit about what didn't they say. When you finish this article, are there any questions that you still have? Those are really important things, and maybe later you'll want to go back and look up whether someone else has done that study or found out that information. Alright, speed review. Find the source, find the details, who, what, when, where, how, and why. Find out the conclusion, and find out what your questions are. And now a little bit of homework. Go out and read a science article. Read something in the news that talks about science, and see what sort of information you can gather from it. Leave me a note in the comments or on the Facebook page that tells me something that you learned this week. Thanks for watching the Science Hive. If you liked it, remember, click subscribe. And, as always, send me your questions using the links below. I'll see you next week.